So this is the first follow-up webinar we did of a training in February, March for zero waste ambassadors for community leaders in Africa. It was supported by the Estonian Foreign Ministry. So this is all part of the this project. And as a follow-up to the training, the participants chose 2 topics to have a webinar on. And this is what we're having today. So today we'll be talking about zero waste solutions for low-income communities. We have Anna from Nipefagio and Betty from Green Africa Youth Organizations talking about zero waste solutions, especially for community level and what you can do there. Shortly, just our house rules. I have muted you all because then it's just easier for the presenters. You can write your questions in the chat and I will address them to the speakers. Later on, if you have discussion, then we can unmute, so then we can talk as well. So also we are recording this webinar and it will be later on available also in YouTube. So if you don't want to have your face or anything in there, so just keep in mind that all your questions will be also publicly available later on. So this is pretty much all from me. So I invite Anna to start with her presentation. And yeah, Anna, you can introduce yourself. Many of you already know you, but go ahead. Oh, sorry. Yes, I also muted you. We're gonna, sorry.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Now I can. Hello, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Ana. I am the executive director of Nipefagio here in Tanzania. We are an organization working with waste management and working with waste speakers and implementation of zero waste models here in Dar es Salaam. I have a presentation basically on community-based zero waste models, and it's mostly based on what we do here. But I think a lot of it can be taken broadly to like opportunities for other people to do in other places as well. So I'm going to share my screen.
Anna, do you want to do also the first question now or later on?
Oh, let's start with the question. Yes, I think that would be great.
So we want to involve you as well. So we have a small question prepared to you. I'm going to put it in the chat. If you go to menti.com and insert this code, then there is a question we would like you to answer to get your impression of the situation with zero waste. So you can use your phone, or if you're behind computer, just go to menti.com and insert the code, and then let's see what are your impressions. So then I can also share with you what
I think one of the things that I want to know basically is how much, like, how do you see the idea of zero waste in the beginning of the webinar and then at the end of the webinar, and how do you see yourself inserted in the zero waste framework?
So let me know if you have any issues going to the Mentimeter. We have some first results already coming in. I will share with you once we have more respondents of what is the opinion of people. You can also, without the code, I can also share with you this link. If you go directly to this, then it should take you there as well. Let me see. We have only one respondent at the moment, so I'm really hoping for more people to reply.
Don't be afraid, you can do this.
Yes. We have at least more than 10 people here who should be applying. So go ahead, don't be shy. We have more. Yes, and we are not going to tell your government, so don't worry. You're gonna do a couple of these later on also, so it's good to get used to the method. We have more people coming in. I think I can maybe share it with you now. So you can still reply, and I'm gonna show you what the results are. So this is what we have at the moment. We have someone thinking lack of government. We have lack of environmental education. Lack of environmental education is one. Like, so let's see if we have a couple of more people voting. Nobody thinks private sector is a problem, or that there's lack of qualified organizations. And luckily also that the, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you have some people also who think that zero waste is not feasible. So let's see if we can have, we have 6 people replying now, so maybe we have a few more. And where you can take your time to go into Mentimeter. Okay, we have someone saying in the chat that it's the government. So we have government and environmental education as the main ones. So you can still take your time, and if you need to think about it, you can there. But I'm gonna stop sharing now and give the floor to Anna now. So this is your basis where you're going for. Government support is, I hear in the chat people saying, so that's also a big one. So go ahead, Anna.
Okay, here we go. Let me remove the subtitles. Do you see my screen? Is it okay? Okay. So this presentation is basically talking about zero waste as a solution to waste mismanagement. Why waste mismanagement? Because I think that's clearly the problem that we have for whatever reason, for lack of government support, for lack of education in the communities. But the truth is that most of our countries here in Africa, and honestly, most countries in the world have not been able to actually figure out how to manage waste. Let me just put my timer here. So I basically know what I'm doing. There we go. So what is zero waste? When you think about zero waste, what are we actually talking about? We are talking about a model, that a solution for waste management that aligns people and planet. So basically social environmental benefits are together in this. We don't overlook one in favor of the other. It's also decentralized, so it's less dependent on the overwhelmed public services. For everyone who was just saying right now in this question that the lack of government support is a problem, I think one of the things that we need to recognize is that our governments have quite a lot to handle, and sometimes waste management is not a priority. And so what the zero waste model, community-based zero waste model, brings to the table is the opportunity to solve zero waste, to solve waste management without requiring the government to do all the investment and do all the work. And then it's also awareness building, which solves the other problem, which is the lack of community education. Because by the moment, one of the issues with waste is that basically the way that things are right now, we generate waste and then we put that waste outside our houses. Outside our houses means, in the case of Dar es Salaam, can be throw that in the river, can be throw that in the forest, can be throw that anywhere. Or maybe there is a truck that comes to collect the waste. In whatever, there are some people that are burning the waste. So basically what we try to do is make the waste disappear. When the waste disappears, we basically don't understand anymore the amount of waste that we are generating, the kinds of waste that we are generating. And with that, we are basically unable to handle it properly. So when you bring waste close to the people, so people need to actually look at their waste and see what they are doing, you are building their awareness. You are making sure that they understand better the different kinds of waste and also the problems with different kinds of waste. So talking a little bit about Dar es Salaam and giving you an idea about how it works here. We have less than 40% of the communities receiving waste collection services in Dar es Salaam, and 70% of the city lives in unplanned areas, which means that we are talking about very narrow roads that are unpaved, that are difficult for trucks to pass through and to collect waste. I think many of you are familiar with this reality. We only have one dump site. We don't have a landfill in Dar es Salaam. We have a dump site. That means that there is no layering, no protection against leakage, nothing like that. So it's basically a huge area where trucks go there and dump the waste. And with that one landfill, that one dump site is very far away from city centers. So depending on where you are in Dar es Salaam, we are talking about 2.5, 3 hours to reach this dump site. So for a waste collection company that has a truck, it becomes not cost effective, which means that a lot of the actual collection companies don't take their waste to the designated place. They ended up dumping that waste on the way. That also means that we have problems with flooding, because all this waste dumped all over. You can see on this map, we did an exercise back in 2019, and we basically mapped with drones 8 rivers of Dar es Salaam. Each one of these dots that you are seeing is a dump site along a river. And when I talk about a dump site, I'm not talking about this amount of waste. I'm talking about a dump site. I'm talking about something that I wouldn't be able to remove with a group of people by hand. So we are talking about a lot of waste. When you talk to people and ask, so why are you dumping waste all over the place? 67% of the people will say that they have no other alternative. We also have a very, which goes with both the 7% and then 6% and 3%. They are all, this 16% of people there are pretty much thinking about the same. They basically built their houses too close to the rivers. And they think that when they dump waste on the river, they are preventing erosion. They are preventing their houses to be affected by the water. And so they basically dump waste to try to bury the river. Does that work? Of course not. So when we have rains, what happens is that all that waste goes with the water, and then we have serious problems, and we have actually people dying because of that. This is a map just for you to imagine. So this is a map of Dar es Salaam, and that orange point over there is the Pugo dump site. So imagine if you are at one of these orange areas, orange lines, you are very far away from Pugo dump site, and it becomes almost impossible for the trucks to reach there. So what happens with that? It happens that we end up clogging our drainage channels, which means that we have lots of problems with flooding. We also have obviously diseases that come because we have waste all over the place. We have mosquitoes all over the place. We have problems with several different kinds of diseases. We also have a lot of waste going to the ocean. So we do marine litter surveys here, and we collect 100 bags of waste on a daily basis, basically every single day at the same area, 100 bags every day for 13, 14 days in a row. That's how much waste we're talking about. Going back to the main point, we have an absence of solid waste management services in 70% of the city. So what are the cost implications of this solid waste mismanagement? So when you think about solid waste management in general, you're thinking about operational costs, you're thinking about health-related costs, we are thinking about investment costs, and you're thinking about environmental costs. And this is just a couple of the costs that are included in that. So in operational costs, we have labor costs, we have fuel, we have maintenance, we have transport, investment costs, we have construction, we have layering of the landfill, supposing that's done. We have administration, contracting, and then health-related costs. We have all the solid waste-related diseases that need to be either prevented, which is not the case, or treated at public hospitals. We have land and water pollution to handle. We have soil contamination. And then we also have environmental costs like loss of biodiversity, increased emission of greenhouse gases. One of the things that we need to keep in mind all the time when you think about sub-Saharan Africa is that we are talking about 60 to 65% of the waste being organic, and organic waste, if it was a country, would be actually responsible for, it would be basically the third country in the world in terms of greenhouse gases emissions. And so mismanaging organic waste is actually a very serious issue. So basically the improper solid waste management adversely affects the local economy because it increases the costs and it decreases the investment in other areas because the government needs to prioritize this. It misses recycling opportunities and there is revenue in that and jobs as well. And it is slowly killing the planet. We can't forget that we have an issue here that when we kill the planet, we are basically killing ourselves with the planet. This is just about, this is just one example as well that shows basically how expensive it is to mismanage waste or to invest in infrastructural-based solid waste management. So this is a study that was done in Dar es Salaam in 2017, and it estimates that an infrastructural-based solid waste model for Dar es Salaam would cost about 10.5 USDs per ton per day. We generate over 7,000 tons a day of waste, so you can imagine how expensive that is. The disposal cost at the dump site would cost up to 6 USD per ton. And then with inflation, we are talking about more than 20 USD per ton. That is in a city that officially is generating over 7,000 kilos of waste a day, 7,000 tons of waste a day. And so, and that is expected, it's one of the rapidly growing cities. So it's expected to be the second largest city in the world by 2100. Some people estimate that we have over 76 million people in Dar es Salaam. We currently have, so the statistics are not very up to date, but we currently have about 8 million people here. So what are we proposing? What do we want? You want a Tanzania that is clean, but that is a result of community awareness. And that comes through efficient decentralized waste management systems, basically that align social inclusion and environmental sustainability. So what are the benefits of a zero waste model? Again, I'll say that probably 1,000 times until the end of this presentation. It aligns social and environmental benefits. It also helps the community organize itself as cooperatives, and then that builds access to vulnerable populations, to income and employment. It includes recycling to what can be recycled in country, and that's something that is very important to say in country. It's adapted to local reality. It's inexpensive in relation, in comparison to what I just showed in terms of costs of an infrastructural-based model. It fosters awareness raising and behavior change, and there is a whole network of people trying to, like, really hoping to help us get in there. We have a very high youth unemployment rate in Dar es Salaam, so employment generation is an important thing to be considered. And according to a report that was released by Gaia in February 2021, a zero waste model basically produces more employment opportunities than any other model for infrastructural based waste collection. Let's see how I'm in time. Here we go. So basically, this is what we are doing here. We do solid waste collection at the household level. People segregate that waste into 4 groups, and then that is collected by the cooperatives, the waste pickers, taken to a materials recovery facility, where in that materials recovery facility, we segregate the waste further. We inspect the waste, and then we compost what can be composted, and we recycle what can be recycled, and then the residual waste goes to Pugo dump sites. What are the objectives of the model? Design an efficient and effective solid waste model suitable for all income communities. Make sure that people are aware so that they understand why that's important, so that they basically participate properly. Build community's ownership over the model, because in the end, this model belongs to the community. Ensure that we are promoting a just economic and social development together with the sustainable development from the environmental perspective. Place solid waste into a decentralized framework to reduce transportation costs, to reduce infrastructure costs and all of that. Make solid waste management self-financed and replicable, which means that it can reach all the communities that it needs to reach. Increase waste collection in low-income communities and contribute towards flood mitigation. So I have a question, which is, does anyone, like from the people in this webinar, do you believe that communities can basically manage their waste? Like, you can just give me a yes or a no on the chat. Do you believe that if we leave for the communities to manage a solid waste model, do you believe that they can do this? Do you believe that people are able to do segregation at source at the household level? Would people be willing to do that? I see lots of people that believe in that. So I'm very happy, because I also believe in people and believe in the communities. And so, yes, we are going to get there in a moment. So the idea of this model is that it needs to be self-financed. So it needs to be financial, to target financial sustainability, ownership and inclusiveness, knowledge and relationship. Basically, what that means is that we need to generate as much income as we can from the model. We need to have the cooperatives really working well, managing the model, and that includes the communities. We need to make sure that the communities understand why this model is important, why this model is helping their lives, and why they are doing it. And we need to have relationships with government, private sector, and the community to make it work. So how do we do that? So when you think about segregation at source, that I just asked you, if we think that the community is able to do that, what we do is that we give them one bin, and that bin is for organic waste. It's not as big as this one, by the way. This is just a picture, but it's a much smaller bin because we collect the waste quite frequently. And then we give them sacks for the recyclables, hazardous, and residual waste. These are the kinds of waste. These are the 4 categories of waste that are being segregated at source. And for everyone who said that you believe that the community can do it, as you can see right here, when we were doing our pilot, we had over 86% of the community complying to it. That means that the community can do it, the community is willing to do it, the community is happy to do it. And so if we put a little bit of energy on it, people are actually able to do this. What else have we realized with this? We have realized that, again, 62% of the waste is organic waste, and that can be composted basically with regular composting techniques. So that means that we don't need to transport that 62% of the waste to the dump site. We shouldn't do that. We need actually to be returning it to the soil at the local level, at the community level. What happens to the residual waste? Well, the residual waste then needs to be taken to the dump site, because the residual waste is basically what we have absolutely nothing that we can do with. So what happens with, let me just erase this, I think that is, there we go. There are certain, oh, sorry. there are certain categories of waste, which means like, for example, sachets, for example, styrofoam, several kinds of plastic that we cannot recycle in country, and we cannot make compost of it as well because it's not organic. And so those kinds of waste, they need to be taken to the dump sites. They need to be taken to Pugo, in our case, in Dar es Salaam. And so that's basically how it works. We try to get, we put all this waste in the materials recovery facility, and then the truck goes to the materials recovery facility and takes it to the dump site. So basically, instead of having a truck going from house to house, which is time consuming, fuel consuming, we aggregate all that waste together. We put all that waste together in the materials recovery facility, and the truck goes just from that point all the way to the dump site. It's very important, and we do catalog very well what kinds of waste are that, because this is the waste that we need to advocate for the private sector to stop production. And so this is waste that we cannot manage in any community-based model. What we need to happen is for the private sector to basically stop producing the products that use those materials. And then we also, as I said, we need to make as much money as we can. And so because of that, one of the things that we are now trying here is urban agriculture and maggot farming. Maggot farming basically produces chicken feed. Tanzanians love chickens. Everyone has chickens. I have chickens. There are chickens everywhere. And so people are always very interested in chicken feed. So it's great if you can basically produce good chicken feed for a viable price for people to pay for. That can be a good source of income. Transparency is extremely important. So everything that we do now in Dar es Salaam, from the cooperative building, the materials recovery facility, everything that is happening, the community is part of every single step of this, because as I said in the beginning, we're talking about a community-based model. A community-based model means that we don't involve the community in the end. We involve the community from the beginning at every single level of it. Otherwise, the community doesn't trust the model. And if the community doesn't trust the model, the community will not comply to the model. And so you can have the best model in the world. If you can't get people to agree, to participate in what we are proposing, it's not going to be successful. So transparency is a big thing. These are just a couple of pictures of the material recovery facility at Bonyokwa in Dar es Salaam. So the picture on the right is actually before it was concluded, but it gives you an idea about how it is divided inside. So each one of these chambers here is for one different kind of waste. And then it got covered with these plastic bottles, which I must be honest, I have double feelings about. They look like beautiful right there. But we have some signs and some posters that explaining why those bottles are actually a problem for the environment. So we shouldn't be venerating them too much. When people are given a good choice, they take it. So that's why community engagements are so important. Going back to the ownership of the model, again, household communities, and then the city council needs to be involved, and then there are several other relevant stakeholders that are part of this engine. But the core of the model are the vulnerable populations, and that includes waste pickers. Why waste pickers? Because again, they are a group that has been dealing with waste for a long time, that has very little opportunities from waste management that can benefit a lot by the income generation that it comes from the model. So they are included here. As you can see here, you need basically everyone to be part of it. And this community-based model can create over 39 jobs at every, when you say mtaa means neighborhood in Swahili. So basically 39 jobs for each one of the neighborhoods. It reduces to only 25% of the waste produced being taken to the dump site. It is supposed to be self-financed through both fee collection, recyclables, composting, and maggot farming, and an opportunity for the community to change, understand the issues, and be part of it. We have a cooperative managing, and that includes the waste pickers, as I said, women as well, because women are basically the main drivers, like the women manage the households. They are closer to the waste than everyone else, so they are part of it. And then other interested household members that would like to participate and are interested in the job generation, income generation. The waste collectors work an average of 8 hours a day, every day, and they collect an average of 530 kilos of waste, each person every day. They have carts to do that. So it is hard work, yes, but it's also dignifying. So they do that under the right, they have the right gear, they have the right structure, they have the right acceptance from the community. They are actually well seen, and they are appreciated by the community. As I said, you need almost everyone to be part of this, involved in this. One second. So do zero waste models fit the African reality? So when you think about the African reality, we are talking about lack of infrastructure. We are talking about need for employment generation. You are talking about vulnerable populations. We are talking about public services that are overburdened. So zero waste is cheaper, zero waste creates jobs, zero waste aligns social benefits, environmental benefits, and zero waste doesn't require the infrastructure. So in my opinion, yes, they do fit zero waste models. This is a report again released by Gaia in February that shows zero waste, that show the projected jobs gained and lost under zero waste management. And we have here Addis Ababa, Dar es Salaam, Durban, and Dakar featured on that report. And what it shows is that there is a very high opportunity for employment generation in these cities. And the report is available online. We can share the link with you if you'd like to know more. We basically can generate over 3 times higher employment rates with a zero waste model at the neighborhood level and also across the system, which is very interesting. And then, is Dar es Salaam the only zero waste example in Africa? No, there are many others coming. There is Ghana coming to present right here. There is Freetown as well. That is introducing a model over there. So Accra, Kitao, Freetown, Dar es Salaam. So we have other opportunities. We have Durban as well in South Africa. So once again, just recapitulating, how does the model work? And when you think about, I know this model is quite complex. So thinking about how can you actually start it? You can basically take one of these pieces and see, okay, can I work in one of them and make this one piece work in the beginning? So basically you have solid waste being produced at the household level, and then that is segregated into 4 groups at the household level. That segregated waste is collected by cooperative members. That the cooperatives are composed by women, waste pickers, and community members. The segregated waste is transported to the materials recovery facility, where it is then separated in different chambers. And then everything that can be composted is composted. Everything that can be recycled is stored to be sold. We have maggot farming as well. And then the residual waste is transported to Pugu afterwards. So again, looking for cheaper, more and better jobs, climate balance, and a just recovery. Going back to the beginning, people plus planet, decentralized and awareness building. Something that brings the community together, that doesn't make the government the main responsible for the whole solid waste management, and also that aligns social and environmental benefits. So that's it from me. I know it's a lot of content, and I know I need to go a little bit quick about it. But if anyone wants to know more, please let me know. And we can also have a discussion about basically portions of the model that could be more easily implemented for someone who'd like to start doing something. So thank you for listening, and that's it.
Yes, we have at least 2 questions in the chat. Don't be shy to ask more. Abraham asked, I think about this, that you were showing the bags of the waste. So he was asking what are the sacks made of? So what is the material of the sacks?
So the sacks that we are currently using are called gunia here and unfortunately they are made of plastic. They are made of plastic. They are heavy weight, so they don't tear easily. We have tried to think about different kinds of sacks, but there is no cost-effective option. So the option for the sacks would be, for example, sisal. The Sisal sacks are extremely expensive, so you cannot use them. But the sacks are also not, so it's not that they're not disposable. People are basically keeping those sacks, and when we pass through the collection, we get the sack, we empty the sacks in the cart, the waste collection carts that we have, and then we return the sack to the household. So those sacks end up being used for a long period of time. So they're not daily, they're not disposable, they're not single use.
Okay, yeah, there was also a question about the presentation sharing. Yes, we will share the presentations and also the recording, so you will get that. David asked about tackling the biodegradable waste. It was a bit before you talked about it, but maybe you can recap on how do you deal with biodegradable waste.
Sorry, how we do the biodegradable waste? I'm looking for the question here, but
how do you deal with it? You mentioned the farming and maggots, so maybe just if you want to elaborate on that a bit more.
Yeah, so the biodegradable waste, which is the compostable waste, which is something that also Betty is going to talk about in the next presentation. We collect that, and then we have different kinds of composting in the MRF. We have maggot farming, so we basically feed maggots with that waste to produce the chicken feed. We have an area where we mix that organic waste with like leaves, basically dry waste, to be able to decompose it faster. And we also have composting with worms, chamber composting. So basically we put the waste in one chamber, the worms go there, they start working that waste, and then we put more waste in another chamber, and then they migrate and they start eating that waste. So that's how it goes, and then we move that to the soil. So we have different kinds of techniques happening right now, and we may still need, like, some of the communities that we have, the amount of organic waste generated, like we won't be able to have the MRF. Just show the picture, it's about 20 meters by 20 meters, which gives you 400 square meters. So it's a quite large area, and not every community in Dar es Salaam would have that area available for us to build an MRF. So some of the composting may also need to happen outside the community in a nearby area. So we would have to have an area for composting that is central for several communities in certain cases as well.
Okay, Abraham had a follow-up question about still the sacks. If you produce them yourselves, if you can share the link to the company who produces them, like where do you get them?
We get them. There are several different producers that sell them in here in Dar es Salaam. I don't think I have a link, but if Abraham, you can send me an email or a message on WhatsApp, and I can send you some contacts of the companies. But those are the sacks that are available everywhere. They are also used for agriculture, so they are not produced only for. They are not specifically waste management sacks. They are also produced, like that's what people use to basically pack their agricultural products to transfer them to other regions. Mm-hmm. And I see that is. Yeah.
A question about the recycler enterprises, if you can see it.
Yes, and that's actually a very big question and a very important one, because if you remember something that I said during my presentation, and I said it very shortly given the time, but what we are targeting is recycling, local recycling, so things that can be recycled in country. We do not support waste trade. We do not support recycling, like, for example, recyclable goods to be shipped from Tanzania to China, from Tanzania to Indonesia, from Tanzania to Kenya, from Tanzania to anywhere. And so when we think about recyclables, we are thinking about things that can be recycled in Tanzania. That's a very important thing, because recycling is market-based, recycling is not material-based. That means that materials that can technically be recyclable are not recycled in countries where there is not enough market for them. That's the case here. We can only recycle in country few kinds of recyclable waste. And so we have companies here that are actually recycling PET. We have companies here that are recycling glass. We have very few companies recycling metal in Tanzania. And we have lots of people downcycling or upcycling. So for example, getting plastics to produce bricks or to produce poles made out of plastic, which means that giving a different purpose to the plastic that is not like that plastic is basically producing a lower quality product from the project that was originally produced. That also happens in country, but we discourage in any way any kind of exporting waste to other countries, although we do have several companies doing it in Tanzania. Any more questions?
There was a question about the organic product if you analyze it in a lab.
Not yet. We eventually are hoping to, because one of the things that we need to do is that we need to increase the value of that compost. And compost is still a very big, so basically when we think about composting inside this model, what we are thinking about is reducing the amount of waste that needs to be transported to the dump site. So the organic waste basically going back to the soil. That compost is not yet sold as a product that people would like to pay for, would like to use at their households, because people still don't see the value of that material here in Tanzania. That's something that we are hoping to build. We are hoping to change the perception. We are hoping to get people to understand that there is value in that composting, in that compost, but it's not the case yet. And so we haven't reached that stage yet. But we are hoping to eventually be able to do lab analysis to be able to show the nutritional value of that compost to the soil, so people are more interested in it as a product.
Yes, we take one more question. There's the list of those who are recycling. I think you can write that later in the chat, but there is the question to explain about the collection points and how do you manage them and how did you acquire the ward area. So maybe you can take that as a last question to answer at the moment.
Yeah, so one of the things about the material recovery facility is that when we say, okay, let's go to a community and start implementing the zero waste model, one of the criteria for us to choose a community is choosing a community that the community is willing to do segregation at source. So we basically start with an exercise on segregation at source to see if people comply. And then the second one is having area available, land available for a materials recovery facility that we can get for free. So we don't acquire the area, we get a license from the government, mostly from the government. We do have a case in which we have actually a private owner that decided to make his land available for it. But most of the times it's government areas that the government gives us permission to use. We write contracts with the government for 3 years, 4 years. And then we are allowed to use that area for the purpose of waste collection. So that's basically how it works. The collection points, the materials recovery facility, are managed by the cooperative. So the same cooperative that is collecting the waste is also managing the materials recovery facility.
Okay, great.
And about a list of those who recycle, just like shortly, I don't have a list. Like you can send me a message as well, and I can share you all the contacts to TARA. TARA is the Tanzania Recyclers Association, but we don't have like a list to share. But you can contact TARA with specific requirements, and they can give you contacts.
So I think you can stop your sharing now. Do you want us to do the next question, or shall we have Betty's presentation first? Anna, what do you think?
I think you should do Betty's presentation first.
Okay, so Betty, the floor is yours. I'm gonna unmute you? Oh, I think, can you unmute yourself? Yes, okay, that's great.
Yeah.
So
Can you make me the co-host, because I can't share my slide?
that's interesting because you should be able to share. I can make you.
Okay, I can now, I can.
Okay, great.
Can you see my slide? Is it visible?
Yes, but it's not in presentation mode at the moment. We can see all your slides at the moment.
Okay.
Yes, now we can see them. All good. Go ahead.
Just 1 second. Sorry. Before I share like full screen, I just want to do some introduction before I do the full screen sharing.
Okay.
Welcome to everyone listening to me today. Usually the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. This was said by Robert Swan. Often when we think you are the end of something, you are the beginning of something else. For decades, pollution has been the trend, resulting from improper waste management practices and industry productions. We are always thinking they are, but no, they are producing waste. We are always made to believe that a consumer is at fault and that they don't and would not, or there would not be waste if they are not improperly disposed. On the other side, our governments do not have the necessary system in place to manage the waste that is being generated. So what do? We are torn between ignorant and irresponsible people, persuasive and polluting industries, and incapable government. This means we won't have a future to give to our incoming generations. So this brings me to Sustainable Community Project. My name is Betosei Bunsu. I'm the project coordinator for Green Africa Youth Organization, and today I'm with you, Green Africa Youth Organization's Sustainable Community Project. Now I want to just
We are not seeing it in presentation mode yet.
Okay. Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay, it's good now. So I'll be
Yes.
sharing with you today,
yes,
GAIO Sustainable Community Project. With this presentation, I'll you to our Sustainable Community Project, the reason why we are having it, the components, the impact we've made, and I will conclude. To begin with, I want to leave you this question. What is sustainability? At the end of the webinar, someone should be able to tell me this. Why the Sustainable Community Project? From my introductory speech, I mentioned that we would not have any resource to pass on to our next generation. And this brings us to Sustainable Community Project. Why do GAIO embark on Sustainable Community Project? Because with this project, action is green, waste is utilized to generate income, and health and well-being is preserved. With this particular project, it's with 3 pillars, which include 1, economic growth, environment, and social, community, and inclusion. From the pictures displayed, you can see the variations from we interacting with the community, the picture just beneath, some school awareness, and some exhibits we were having. I would introduce you to our product. So you tend to ask yourself, why do we sustainable community project? 1, Waste is a problem where we find ourselves. Wherever you are, Africa, wherever you find yourself, we are all facing the same and equal challenge, which is waste. Secondly, this waste is then bringing about pollution that is bringing a trend. The trend is the open burning we see and the climatic issues that we keep on saying to the governments that we are having climate issues, and they keep on saying the non-scientists and the scientists are trying to battle it with economics, that if we break this, if we stop this, it would the economic, it would disturb the money we generate. This is a trend we are seeing. Limited resources. Fine, if an organization decides that I want to put in this particular solution, the particular resource to actually implement the solution you're proposing. And lastly, poverty and vulnerability. In Africa, we have one of the largest population when it comes to individuals who are poor and vulnerable. And these people, with the particular question Anna was showing with if who is to blame? Is it the government or the lack of education? Lack of education, because these people are not even prior to the fact that a particular situation that they can't do anything about. They don't know. Sometimes education exposes you to your surroundings, makes you know that this is what you are lacking. Therefore, I want to bring a solution to it. Therefore, with Gaio Sustainable Community Project, we are able to meet the following objectives. One, to establish a community-driven proper waste management structure while working with the district towards zero waste. Secondly, provide compost for farmers and households to boost sustainable agriculture and increase youth participation in proper waste management. There's a question that came to Anna on the composting. I could show you another slide that has a detailed presentation on compost production, because that question came to her. But along the way, you'll see just brief summary on the compost Gaio engages on. And thirdly, to build the capacity of the community and empower women to generate income. This is a very important section of our Sustainable Community Project, where we build the capacity, not only of the community, but small emerging scale enterprises. We build on their skills, channeling it to green items. With that, we're able to generate income because it's all towards economy reviving. So Gaio Sustainable Community Project was implemented in 2014, but started evolving in 2016. This project is the first in Ghana that utilizes waste. So we are saying, okay, we want to be the first community-led zero waste institution in Ghana, with the aim of creating a model that can be replicated in other communities in West Africa. Anna did well to share with you her model, and I appreciated a lot of things she mentioned. She mentioned one particular aspect, that was zero waste model fits the African reality. With that particular presentation she gave, and it really did, because of one, she mentioned lack of resources. This particular presentation I'll give to you, this is a locally based model that we, Green Africa Aid Organization, has implemented to utilize waste to resource, which we are replicating across regions here in Ghana. Therefore, following our pilot in 2016 in Cape Coast, that was where we started the Sustainable Community Model. We learned a lot of lessons, and we are able to replicate that to where we are having our factory now, which is New Edubiasi. We started with extensive education with targets of women, children, and youth. You can see for the pictures displayed, and we had several forms of awareness, including radio sensitization, sanitation workshops, community outreach, and social media. We began with household, then we moved to general. We started with distribution of beans. We encouraged them to do segregation. Then we started our composting. We also did well to engage stakeholders in our various communities, because they are very key when it comes to implementing projects, because they are the door to whatever you want to do in that particular project. So this brings us to our Gaio Sustainable Community Project component. This has 4 aspects: recycle art, brickwork, composting, and trees for biodiversity. I know most of you will be very, very enthused with the composting aspect. I'll do well to spend some while in the composting section. So this is just a little illustration of our Gaio Recycle Art. With our Gaio Recycle Art, this is a creative work that's made from water sachets to reusable items. If you can see behind my background, you can see this is all made from sachet rubber, and these are they are done from the community, and we make use of them here. Items we are able to convert the sachet rubbers to include raincoats, bathroom curtains, apron, school bag, farmer's overall. We are also bringing more other items. If you have other items, you can just let us know and we'll try create some from the sachet rubber. With this particular initiative, the amount of plastics in the system, we are actually embarking on a campaign called Break Free from Plastic, where we are preaching and also taking actions to institutions and individually that they need to break plastic, because this is really a great menace in our society. With our Recycle Art, we are able to work with informal waste pickers. Anna mentioned informal waste pickers and how with them. This is what we also do. So you can see some of her model being replicated in my presentation. She also mentioned something that waste management is very expensive. Yes, waste management is very, very expensive because we are using money to cater for money. Waste on its own is money. You don't want to imagine the amount of resource that is generated with this particular sachet rubber we collect and convert to item that is sold. To just imagine, this is waste from the environment. Pick, we collect them and it's sold. You want to ask yourself, as an ambassador, you want to become an ambassador, how would you do that? These are just aspects of our product I'm introducing you to. 1, you can start even gathering the waste in your house yourself. You can sell them, and that's you are being an ambassador. You can also be an ambassador by preaching the word of breaking free from plastic or becoming an environmental steward. We undergo training, youth training workshops. With the recycling, we're able to train young individuals in the communities. And then we do community lunch. After that, we do exhibit. In the next slide, or at the end of the presentation, I'll be showing you a video from some of our community lunch we did in various areas. This is a video, you can just see individuals lined up with recycled items. At the end of the presentation, I'll make Anna show the presentation, the video from this. The next component is the charcoal briquette. You would want to ask me, what is briquette? Or what is charcoal briquette? This is an alternative to the fuel wood we use in the various communities. We want to reduce the deforestation, we want to reduce logging, we want to reduce health-related diseases from even this charcoal that we use in our various areas. So we are making use of waste, and this waste we are making use of is coconut husk. So with coconut husk, we are able to recycle it to produce charcoal briquette. A lot of people would want to ask me, how is this done? Maybe the next time you invite me, I'll show you how this is done. So with this, we are reducing logging, we are preventing health-related illness, and we are combating change. With this charcoal briquette, we involve the waste pickers, we dry them, we burn. You would want to also, why are you burning? Burning is also contributing to climate change. But no, according to research, plants produce net zero carbon dioxide. So they are zero carbon dioxide free and are able to be deoxygenated. That is, you burn without oxygen, and you'll be able to produce what we call items from this coconut husk that can be then pulverized to the hard item that can be used for cooking, that charcoal briquette. And I must say, this is community-led. This brings us to the composting aspect of Gaio. And if there are more questions, I would just show you some few other slides of a detailed composting presentation. So with this particular aspect of our project, we collect the waste from the communities. And with this collection, we coordinate with the community women for their households to collect their organic from kitchen, from farm, from every area that generates organic waste. And this is sent to them and we go and collect. You can see from the picture on the right-hand side where we were collecting some of the waste from the communities. The next picture with the two ladies carrying the bags is where we were doing the production of the compost. With this, we have our facility there. We have the crushing machine that crushes the waste collected. The next slide, I will show you how, just a brief process, how the composting is done. You can see after it is crushed, beneath the picture, you can see the waste just there. It is heaped, and then you cover 2 weeks maturity, and our compost is done. With this, with the particular aspect, which is the composting, we are able to divert waste from landfills, and we are able to increase and implement sustainable agricultural practices. Why do I say that? Nowadays, the chemical fertilizers is abundant in the system, and this is contributing to a lot of diseases that are found within our food and crops. Farmers keep on complaining. Government try bringing solutions. That is with this chemically motivated compost, which is not good. So we are trying to implement organic farming where they are actually crops what is needed. So we don't only just produce a compost that has general nutrients, but no, we produce compost suitable for the plants that is being cultivated. For if you are producing what do you call it, cabbage, we know they are leafy. We make use of more nitrogen, because more nitrogen giving food items, and that would increase the growth of that particular crop you are. So with this composting, our processes after collection from the informal waste pickers, we sort the waste. Already they are sorted, so we don't actually do a lot. We just find some minimum plastics within, but we're able to take that out. We dry, we crush, then we compost. And with 2 to 3 weeks, we have our matured compost. The last aspect of this component is the trees for biodiversity. With this, we are ensuring restoration and conservation. There's also a video I can show you at the end of this presentation. So with this particular process of trees for biodiversity, we meet with our various stakeholders, the Forestry Commission and the Municipal District Assembly are very important stakeholders. This, I would mention again, is community-led. We undergo the planting exercise and we are able to monitor and generate reports. So for this, our project, we have been able to scale this, our zero waste model. Anna has already shared with you the zero waste model, but with Gaio zero waste model, we've been able to scale it to 4 areas in Ghana, and we are looking to take it to another area in Mali, another country, that is Mali. We are having this implemented in the New Edibiasi Ashanti region in Ghana. We also have Cape Coast, we have Kumasi, and we have Accra, where I'm the one managing this project here in Accra. So the impact and goal from our project, I would not take you through the other ones, but for the Sustainable Community Project, see the pictures just beside it. We've been able to, just 2020, we were able to embark on reforestation, where we planted 855 tree seedlings. This year, we'll be adding 5,000 seedlings more to the seedlings. We're able to produce, that is last year, 500 kilograms of compost, which was shared with farmers to test the viability of the compost produced. But currently, as I speak to you, we have 4,000 kilograms or 4 tons of kilogram of compost being produced. And then we also have 20, that was last year, 20 tons of plastic sachet recycled. Currently, as I speak to you, we have 100 tons of plastic sachet being recycled. You can see from the exhibition I showed to you, all those items were made from plastic rubbers. And you can see the one just behind me is also made from plastic rubbers. And with this particular Sustainable Community Project, we are able to generate a revenue of 38,970 Ghana cedis. So with this, in conclusion, all communities require sustainable waste. This is what GAIO has introduced. While we are preserving the environment through effective waste management, we are also improving livelihood, growing jobs, and promoting community development through revenue generation, and not forgetting the important component of community ownership, replicability, being an ambassador and a steward. So I'll end my presentation here, and I'll give minutes for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patty. It's really great to see what you're doing there and what things can be really done on community level. We have a question from Jean about that. Do you know the exact quantity of compost that is needed in Accra in terms of demand? What's the supply? Meaning, can you establish the link between the demand and supply, and like the capacity of producer to supply the demand?
Are you referring to Ghana? Can you kindly take the question again? And are you referring to Ghana?
Yes. The question is about Accra. So yes.
Ghana or Accra?
The question is about Accra.
Accra, okay. Accra.
Yes.
Sure, okay. Good. So take it again, please.
Yes, so do you know the exact quantity of compost that is needed in Accra in terms of demand, and what is the supply? So meaning, can you establish the link between the demand and the supply, meaning the capacity of producer to supply the demand?
Okay, that's a very good question from your end. That's a very good question from your end. One, first of all, do I know the demand and supply? Yes, the demand is really high. Give an estimated number, but the demand is really high, but the supply is low. You can also say, I can also turn the question and say, the demand is high and the supply is high, but the supply is high. The compost being given to them is not what is suitable for their crops. So the demand for organic compost is high, but the supply is limited. That's the major reason why we are even embarking on this particular component of our project, that is the composting. So we do well to survey the particular area we come in to have the composting. For example, where we are having the pilots in the Ashanti region, that place is an agricultural area, farming. So we have the demand there very high. Every area has the model and what can be done, as Anna did and said well. So with Adansi South, we are able to generate a lot of compost because there's incoming and influx of waste, organic waste, and that we're able to generate in a higher quantity. But in Accra, we might not be able to get a lot of the organic waste because of the trend that is happening here and how the busier lifestyles of the individuals in Accra, because you know that Accra is the more developed, or should I say, the city when compared to other areas, that is the agricultural areas. So here you have individuals ordering more of the food than cooking it themselves. So you can just get the organic from the market. But I can say there's no estimated number of the compost here in Accra. But there is increased demand, but there's limited supply of the organic compost than the fertilizers that is generated from the government and is chemically induced. I hope I answered your question well.
Okay, thank you for that. Abraham also asked if he can have your contact. So if you can share your email or WhatsApp, then you can just see that. And so if you want, you can also unmute yourself. I have the opportunity if you want to. You made a long comment. If you want to comment it by voice.
No, basically I wrote in the chat box that was a feedback on people, because people normally they express concerns. What if we collect 100% of the bio-waste? Will there be room for the usage of the composted outputs? The problem is rather the opposite. I'm an agronomist and I know compost would never be sufficient in order to replenish all the organic matter. So compost is a tool, it's a great tool, and it has to be considered in conjunction with other conservative agricultural techniques such as minimum tillage, conservative tillage, restorative agriculture, and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, we would have sorted out most of the problems related to municipal solid waste management. And so much as compost would not be sufficient to cover all the needs from the agricultural sector, it would be already a very big contribution to sorting out the problems related to waste management.
Yeah, yeah, well said, well said, well said.
Betty, do you want to talk more about composting? I see you have some other slides here. We have some time, so you can go a bit more deeper into it.
Oh, I see. That's good. I was just showing you a slide of one of composting we've been embarking on. You can see from the pictures. I'll just be more engrossed on the pictures. So you can see the drying of the waste. So these are various wastes that are taken from the community. We have the planting, we have all type of waste, but pairing it, we have our proportions. Let me just show you this. Okay, we have different types of composting, but what we embark on is compost. You know that there's difference between composting and compost. Composting is the process, whilst compost is actually the fertilizer that is used for the crop. So a lot of people get that wrong at times. Okay, and when you want to do composting, it's very important to note that you have to be adapted to the types of nutrients that plants contain to be able to produce a compost, because you don't just put in items. If you are producing on a large scale individually, you don't just put in a lot of items and when you send it to your farm or your particular garden, it grows your crops. You should be able to know what particular nutrient is suited or suitable for the crops you're generating. If you're taking care of a garden, it means more leafy, as I explained with the cabbage. It means you need a lot of nitrogen because of nitrogen generates leaves, so it brings about leaf development. And when you maybe rooty crops or plants, you have phosphorus. It means you have to put in a lot of root-induced waste. And then when you want a lot of fruit, you have to put in a lot of potassium-induced waste. There are other secondary nutrients, but these are generally found in all types of plants. And there's one particular major nutrient, which is carbon. This is also generally found in plants, but we have some crops having a larger quantity or a larger amount. I don't know with your various areas what crops you have, but here in Ghana and in Accra, We have for the carbon, we have a lot of rice husk, we have a lot of yam peels, we have a lot of cassava peels, cocoyam peels. I don't know what you call them there. But with our preparation, we've been able to put together a model for our compost preparation. And we have one secret, which is the microbial mountain. Anna did well to mention some lava-eating compost, which generates lava waste, which generates compost, sorry. With us, we make use of microbes. I don't want this to be so technical, but this microbial mountain is from the forest, or where you have a lot of leaves being decomposed on its own naturally. We go take this. I don't want to go so deep into the, we take this and we add carbon to give them energy to be able to reproduce more. So they actually go and break the compost for us quickly, because you have a lot of organizations generating compost with 2 months, 3 months. For us, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have our compost produced because of the demand we have. So we are able to supply to that. Yes, and also taking a lot of waste in the community. You can see from the pictures, that's just one of our workers in the areas, and you can see them turning. I don't want to take you through, but when it comes to composting, we have the general ingredients. We do well to make use of the matured compost. We put it in the new compost, so that will also quicken the speed of the compost preparation. We have the waste we use, one major ingredient to the nitrogen, which we have the cock excrete, should I say, poultry. So in our particular local recovery site, that's what we call it. In our sustainable community development, we have a material recovery facility where all waste is being sent there. We have also there a domestic rearing, where we rear animals. So these animals, the excrete of the animals is being fed into the compost. So we have this cycle of everything within. So with that particular compost, we also have a demo farm where we show the compost and how it is doing well. You can even see him, you can see the guy just behind some of, that's a cocoa farm, as some of the produce from the compost very well. So this is just a small take you through of the process from the collection to the drying. You can see this is actually on our site. The drying, you can, some of our workers drying the waste on the field. You can see, let me shock you. I'm actually the one standing, the third picture. I'm the one standing with the cap, the blue, white, and cream cap. I'm the one standing there. Don't mind this outfit right now, yes. And this is the final stage of the compost, where we also try to make use of locally generated items such as the bamboo and the plastic rubber you see there, but we want to improvise that. Every day we keep on improving, on changing skills and model. Every day is a learning process for us. So now we want to make use of our sachet to cover the compost, and we want to pilot that and see how it also runs. So any suggestion from the participants is welcomed. So yes, so that is all on the composting. After, this is a 1 week compost you see, where the temperature is being tested. You can see the picture just there. And then again, I'm the one standing beside the compost pile, just beside the guy. Yes. With our compost, we do well to do a lot of monitoring. We check for temperature, we check for moisture, we check for microbial activity. And that activity is what we induce ourselves to be higher. When I spoke about the microbial mountains, we check for the particle size. We make sure the particle size is limited so that the organisms can break them down. Even in my house, I've started practicing composting. So I want to grow, I want to actually do my own garden. So I've started piling waste. So the waste, I want more of nitrogen so that I can get more leafy plants. And we do back test, other tests, height changes. The second picture, you can see the vapor coming from our compost pile. I don't know if that is very evident. Kadri, can
Yes.
Okay, good. Yes. So you can see from the first picture, it's just one of the workers testing the microbial of the compost pile. If you have any question, I would answer. Thank you. So is there any other question from the participants?
There was a question about, can microbes be bought from an agriculture retail?
Oh, wow. It can, but I've not. So we actually generate ours ourselves. That's that's a good suggestion. We can start producing that in large quantity and selling then. I've not seen microbes being produced and sold in retail, but you can have those lab microbes, but I'm not sure that is what we want. But this is what we do. We don't buy, and I've not seen some being done before. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for your presentation. Before we take more questions, we have a question for you. I see that David has a lot of experience in here as well. He also shared his email, so you can contact him. And Betty, if you can, I see your contacts are also in here, so you can do that. So if you stop sharing your screen, I will put the link now into Mentimeter, where we have the next question. So we have a question of how do you see your own role in zero waste implementation? And yeah, you can either use that link, or if you go to menti.com and insert a code, then you can also submit your responses. So we just want to see what's the feeling in among you. How do you see yourself in zero waste? And then we can go more for your questions. So go ahead. Betty's also sharing her email. That's great. So yes, waiting for your responses now. Okay, we have the first results coming in. So go ahead, others as well. Okay. I'm gonna wait a bit more and then show you what do we have here at the moment. So go ahead and try the Mentimeter out to give your opinion. Okay, I'm going to go on and still maybe want to take a little bit of time, think about it, and reply. So I'm going to share my screen to show you what do we have here. So we see most of the people, although we don't have that many respondents, are interactive implementation. So really hands-on work on the community level. That's great. Or then supporting those those communities. So we have a lot of hands-on people here, which is great to hear. You can still take a couple of more answers if you want to share your voice here as well. So yes. Anna, do you want to maybe comment on what we had the first respondents and now since we thought of these questions together, or do you want to say anything about this?
I think it's very interesting to see that most people see themselves as active implementers of zero waste. It's a very happy surprise because it's not an easy thing to do. Again, you can break down a full zero waste model into units, and you can dedicate yourself to implement one of those units or two of those units and go slowly. Because in the end, we are talking about a very long-term implementation. For example, for us here in Tanzania, we are talking about 20 years plus implementation. So it's a long-term involvement. And so it's great to see that people are willing to do that and to engage. And we need lots of people to be implementing it in whatever level, community level, regional level, whatever level that is possible, so that we become a stronger voice, because it's not easy to convince governments, private sector, all the people that have a mindset on infrastructural based solid waste management, that the zero waste models are actually a solution, that they are possible, and that we can do it. So the more people we have implementing it, the better. The most examples we'll have to be able to show success in the future. So that's awesome.
Yeah, so we have some time now for open discussion. So you can unmute your microphones if you want, or if you want to ask some more things in the chat. If you have any questions or thoughts on what we discussed, anything that was still unclear, or you wanted to get answered but hasn't been answered yet. So this is the moment now to ask those questions. Yes, in the meantime, I can also say that we have the next webinar happening on May 19th, so more or less in a month. We have, I think some of you have also registered to that. The registration will still be open and shared in Let's Do It Foundation social media, especially in Facebook. And that webinar will be specifically about biowaste treatment. So composting and other things you can do with food waste. So we will dig more deeper into what you can do with bio waste and food waste. So the composting stories will continue. Yes, so at the moment I see we have no other questions. Maybe Betty or Anna, you want to still voice some of your thoughts that you got through this, so that you felt that weren't said yet. So I give the floor to you if you want to add something.
Yes.
We have a question, John. Do you want to ask something?
No, I just want to say about other waste. Like we have talked about organic. Now, what about the e-waste, for example? How to recycle them?
Yes, so Anna or Betty, go ahead.
Okay.
I can start, and then, Betty, you can start, go ahead.
There are lots of ways in recycling e-waste. Even here in Accra, we have e-waste arts that they make use of plastics, and then they find electronics to even do e-waste bulbs. Maybe the next time I meet you, I'll be showing you one of that, because we actually partnering with that particular firm to set that up in our organization. So there are lots of ways they do the recycling of the e-waste. Here in Ghana, we have one of the largest dump sites for e-waste, which is called Bulushi. I don't know if you heard that before, but this is a very large area where there's a lot of incoming e-waste from all over the world. So we also want to leverage on that. We've not started yet. That's why I didn't mention it as part of our SCP, but we're going to start very soon. Hopefully the next time I'll be able to take you through what we are doing, but there are a lot of recycling with e-waste. Thank you. Anna, maybe you can add something from your end.
In general, anything that can be extracted from e-waste and has some value is somehow used. So to give you an example of how resourceful people are, like if you go to the Pugo dump site here in Dar es Salaam, and we have several waste pickers that work at Pugo dump sites and get different kinds of waste. They have a division among themselves about who can get what kind of waste. And they recycle, for example, the ink, like the paint from sacks. They have ways to remove that paint from the sacks and they recycle that paint. So that's how resourceful people are. In terms of e-waste, that's the case. Like, so everything that can be used locally, people do use. We do have quite a lot of e-waste in Tanzania that doesn't actually get recycled. And sometimes it's hazardous waste, sometimes it's residual waste. So there is still an issue there. Because I think also it's about volume. Remember, we're talking about recycling being market-based and not material-based. So we need to have enough volume for a business to be able to survive from it. So again, there are certain kinds of waste that we can't manage at the community level. These are the residual waste, these are sometimes the hazardous waste, and those depend on a change in production from the private sector aligned with a policy implementation from the public sector as well.
Okay, thank you for an important question and good answers from Juan and Betty. Any other things you would like to mention still that weren't maybe talked so much? Betty, do you want to go ahead if you want to still add something?
Oh, I think it's fine for my end. Thank you.
Anna?
For me, I just wanted to thank everyone once again for the involvement, for the engagement, for the questions, for the sharing of expertise. It's very cool to see what you're all doing, and it's very inspiring to be able to work with you all. So yeah, let's keep the connection alive and let's keep sharing because we need to build a zero waste movement in this continent and we need to take the lead. So that's it from me.
I also want to say thank you to everybody. I can see there are a lot of experts here and I look forward to learning a lot. Every day it's a learning stage for us all. Thank you very much.
Yes, Betty has to leave now, but if you still have some things to ask, you can go ahead. I wanted to ask, I don't know, David, how good is your connection? I see that I know you know about this a lot, so just wanted to ask if you do want to make some comments over the voice, but I don't know how your connection is. So you can try ahead if you want to add something from your side. Or maybe not. I guess David is checking it. Oh yeah, we can also, I hope it's okay. If you want, we can take a group picture as well, as Betty suggested. So if you want to turn on your cameras just for a moment to take a photo, then I can do that as well. We have some more people turning on your cameras. Anna, can you also turn on your camera? I think you just went off. We have more people here. That's nice. So a couple of minutes if you want to turn on your cameras before we let Betty to go to her next meeting. Okay, so I'm gonna make the picture now. So smile. Okay, I'm gonna take a new one because Enzo was not here. So go ahead and Enzo, you can make the heart again if you want. Okay, that's great. Yes. Okay, thank you guys. Any last questions do we have? If not, we have the last Mentimeter for you, so you can use the same link. I'm gonna paste it here again, the code, or if you want to use the link, this is an easy one. You just, or actually maybe the hardest one, because you have to just insert a couple of words of how does zero waste feel to you, and what is zero waste ambassadors for you. So we have already some words coming in. So go ahead and add your thoughts again. Then I'm gonna. So yeah, we have some people who were confused about the time differences. Don't worry, we will share we will put the recording up on YouTube, and we will share the link with everybody who registered together with the presentation. So don't worry about that. Okay, I'm gonna share now what you are writing here. So that's so nice to see. So this is what you're sharing. So we have clean environment, change, passion, fixing, youth and involvement. I think for some it was also what are the problems. So we have the problems also: waste production and many dumps, protective obligation, fixing, passion. That's really great. So we can wait a couple more people to give your input. And yeah, other than that, we will, if you have registered and you're interested, then we will see you in a month. David, do you want to add something? I see that you're connected now.
Yes, I'm connected.
Do you want to add something on the topic, because you're also very knowledgeable the composting topic?
Yes, I'm connected.
Do you want to add something on the topic?
Yeah, but let me just write in the chat, because this about biodegradable waste is the best way to clean the environment is a recycling of the biodegradable waste, because each and every country has got over 60% of the biodegradable waste. So if we can be able to recycle those waste and then take back to the farm, the farmers there will be getting high crop yield, and also our town will be clean, and our environment will be more clean.
Yes.
Is it clear?
Yes, yes. So thank you for those final ideas. Of course, I think we all agree that, you know, as we can see, that if we can tackle the organic waste, we can already reduce the waste problem by a lot. So yes, with these words, I thank you all for your participation. You will get the links and the presentations to your email, so don't worry about that. And yeah, wishing you everybody a nice day. So take care, and bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Okay.
So yes, Anna, and then so if you can stay.